Hello, my name is Michelle Wark. I am the Human Services Department Chair at the Owens campus of Delaware Technical Community College. This is a leadership reflection presentation for Dr. Joanne Daminger for Class EDD 7204, The Art of Leadership. Hopefully you can see my screen and me and that this is all working the way that it is supposed to. I'd like to just take a few minutes to talk about the course readings. The Leadership Challenge, Kouzes and Polster. To be perfectly honest, I found the book to have a lot of good information, but I also found the book to be a little difficult because it basically stated, this is the way that you do it. If you do not do these things, you will fail. And I'm not sure that's always accurate. John Kotter, Leading Change, I really enjoyed Kotter. I enjoyed the way that he writes. I found his information to be useful. I found it to be helpful. I found it to be applicable, which is probably the most important thing for me. I enjoyed his writing so much that I went out and found articles and other things that he had written, and largely they were through the Harvard Business Review, but I found them helpful. And finally, Mr. Maxwell's little book. I'm really glad that I bought this optional textbook. I found it to be concise, but also really inspiring. So there is a lot of great information in this really little compact place. The discussion boards, I will be perfectly honest, I always find the discussion boards to be the most helpful activities in determining my own course of action and in figuring out what I'm going to do. It also helps to shape my opinion because it provides me with the opportunity to speak with people who have wide-ranging experience. I spent 22 years in the helping field, so I wasn't a lifelong educator, and listening to someone who has been a lifelong educator and their opinion and perspective on topics has been really very helpful in broadening my perspective, as well as listening to people who work in business areas of a college or who work in the student affairs divisions or who don't work in the college environment at all. So that has been extremely helpful in broadening my perspective and giving me understanding of a wide variety of things. The assignments over the course of the semester, the Leadership Lens paper was really a very crafty assignment. I didn't understand how clever it was until after I completed the paper and was ready to turn it in, so kudos for that. It helped me to look at leadership in a very different perspective. It helped me to evaluate characters that I wouldn't have necessarily considered to be leaders who definitely were and who had a tremendous amount of leadership behavior in the course of watching the movie. The leadership assessment paper, I didn't really find a whole lot of new or amazing information in the leadership assessment. For me, I come from the helping profession, so I've had the opportunity to self-evaluate frequently. We are encouraged, and it's constantly reinforced, that we be self-aware, that we are self-evaluating, that we understand how our beliefs, values, and behaviors impact the way that we interact with clients and the way that we interact with systems that we must navigate in order to help our clients. The article review, honestly, I found to be the most difficult of all of the assignments. It was very, very difficult to sort out the difference between the two topics and to try to keep one separate from the other. So I found that to be challenging. The structured external assignment was great. It allowed me to really look at the conglomerate of material. It made doing this presentation much simpler. It provided me with the opportunity to really look at standards 1 and 3 in a very specific way through the use of the questions. So I appreciated that. In the concept of thinking about goals, I used the opportunity that the SEA gave me to go back and look over everything that I have seen. And my goal number 1 is to actively use my service on college-wide committees, of which I'm a member of several, to interact with and understand the hierarchy and leadership culture of the upper management. and using that interaction to really talk about culture. The culture in my division in instruction, I understand. I understand the culture to some extent in the student affairs division from a frontline staff perspective. I do not understand what it is like to be in senior management and senior leadership and how they interact, what the culture of their interaction is. And I understand through the readings in the course that there are formal structures and informal structures, and I understand both in my area. I understand both in the local management of the campus, but I don't understand it from the upper perspective. So I want to be able to do that better. My second goal, I am very passionate about my program. I'm very passionate about my job. So I wanted to find a way that I could be simultaneously helpful to my students and to myself. And this just seemed to be a perfect example of how to do that. So I teach the directed practice classes, which have seminar components. And in that seminar component, I thought I would ask the students to help me create a vision for the course, and that about halfway through, we would review that vision and see if it needed to be revised. And at the end, we could evaluate the effectiveness of the vision over the completion of the course. So I thought that would be a great way for me to integrate some of my learning into practice. My third goal, I've identified some people at my college, at my institution. Most of them are on my campus, but not all of them. And I've listed them in the slide here in order for me to get some understanding of what kind of data we gather, what we use that data for, how we can leverage that data to improve our programming, how I can leverage that data in my program to help improve retention, to improve success. And I really am a strong proponent of data-driven decision-making. So I want to know what is out there and what I can use that will be more efficient for me. I believe that this will help me grow in leadership perspective just through basic knowledge, but also through data-driven decision-making. Finally, I am quite aware of my personal characteristics. I have a very conversational style. I like to communicate conversationally. I like give and take and reciprocity. I learn that way as well, and I lead that way. So I'm very facilitative in nature. That is a strength for me. I also have some challenges. I am a little intimidated by hierarchy, and that's the reason that one of my goals specifically requires me to interact with senior leadership, to allow, on a one-to-one basis, to allow me to work on that particular challenge of mine. And another goal requires me to interact and to ask questions that are a little bit outside the norm about culture. So I appreciate the opportunity to set those goals, and I hope to complete them. I've enjoyed the class, and I hope that I feel like I have done well and I've learned a lot. So I appreciate your leadership in that. I know that I'm a little bit over the time limit, so I'm going to end there. Thank you very much.